Nin hao, nin xin ti zin mi yang. Ha! I can talk Chinese, or at least last week's lessons worth of Chinese, which doesn't sound like much, but the teacher, Hang, puts it puts it to us. We are learning a lot. I can already do a little shopping and ask direction and buy tickets, and talk about how delighted I am to be in China and witness the four modernizations and great progress of the motherland. Blah blah blah. About a week ago, I found out there's a school for foreign diplomats kids near Ritan Park, which is a block or so north of the Friendship Store, Yuyin Shengding in Chinese. And I asked Dad if I could go and learn a little Chinese. I was getting sick and tired of feeling like I was deaf, dumb, and blind all the time, never knowing what was going on around me, and I knew the only way out of that feeling that was to learn some of the language. Dad agreed and said that we'd have to find a school. We were in the office at the time, and Lao Zhu said he thought he could help. A couple days later, most of which he seemed to spend shouting into the phone. Oui, oui. He had found me a place. Eddie was amazed. I know diplomats who can't get into that school, he said. Lao Zhu just smiled and said a former classmate of his was the director of the school. Ah, Eddie said. Gongji. That means connections, Alex. Then he said to my dad, It's a hard language to learn. I hope you're not wasting your money, Ted. I gave Eddie a dirty look, but he didn't notice. Don't worry about Alex. Once he decides to do something, get out of his way. Eddie took his pipe out of his mouth and laughed. I wonder where he got that from. I get up 7 every morning, shower and dress and eat, hop on my Phoenix and bike along Chang'an, and there's usually a good stiff breeze, and because the city is so flat, I can sail. I unbutton my jacket and hold the bottom straight out from my body with one hand, making a sail, and then just sit there and get pushed along by the wind. I got the idea from people I saw doing it. By the way, speaking of my jacket, I don't get stared at as much when I ride along now. I got sick and tired of that too. So one day I marched along Wang Fujing Street near the hotel to the big department store. I bought one of those light coats that Westerners call Mao coats, a blue hat with a red star above the peak, and a pair of those corny mirror sunglasses that a lot of young guys here think are cool. I had no one back home that can see me, but I am disguised enough with my blonde hair and blue eyes covered that I get by without the stares. Chinese is really different from English or French. The hardest part is the tones. You can say a sound four different ways using the tones. I can't explain it in writing, but to take the sound ma, the first tone means mom. The second means hemp or flax. Third means horse, and the fourth means a curse or swear. As if it's not enough, if you put ma without a tone on the end of a sentence, it changes the sentence from a statement to a question. There's more. Chinese verbs have no tense. Adding li to the end of a sentence changes it all into the past tense. I don't know what you do about the future. In Chinese, there's no he or she, both are ta. As if that isn't enough, we learn Chinese by writing the words in pinyin, except some letters are pronounced differently from English. X is hiss, so Lao Zhu sounds like whoosh. Ku is a hard ch, and sound z is like our J, and Z is a sound English doesn't really have. Enough of that. I go to school in the mornings and then head down to the friendship store and to get a pop and a snack. In the afternoons, I pack up my gear in my backpack and go out for a reconnaissance trip. I take some food, a couple of cokes, a million battery packs, and an 8 millimeter camcorder, videotapes in my audio recorder, which I haven't used yet, but you never know. My Walkman and some rock and roll tapes, and my VHF two-way radio. It's a little thing about the size of a pack of cigarettes or paper, with a range of 5 or 6 miles in the city and 5 times that in the country. It has a power saving feature when it is in on receiver mode, so I can leave it on while I'm out and be sure that the battery won't wear down. Dad can call me anytime he wants. We use Channel 1. What I did, I bought one of those bamboo baby seats a lot of people have on their bikes. It fits on the rat trap carrier behind the seat over the rear fender. I tie the camcorder to the carrier so it points out behind me, put it on autofocus, and lock it on. I have a little box with a hole in it with the covers the camcorder but allows the lens to protrude a little. When I get to a part of the city I think is interesting or that I think Dad might find interesting, I just get off the bike, lock the camera on, remount, and ride slowly along. I tool around the streets exploring. I've been through the Forbidden City, which looks mostly like a ghost town with the expanse of empty courtyards, and saw the Nine Dragon Wall out to the Summer Palace, which is an hour's ride to the outside of the city past Beijing University, and to the Temple of Heaven Park. Those places were weird in a way. One minute you're in a noisy, polluted city, then you walk through a gate and blink your eyes, and you're suddenly 400 or 600 years disappear. You see graceful, elegant buildings with glazed roofs, wooden latticework on the windows, and cool interiors. Gnarled, ancient pines stand in the peaceful courtyards, except on Sundays, when the places are packed with people. The most fun I've had is hopping on my bike and exploring the parts of the city the tourists don't get to or even know about. A lot of Beijing is old residential neighborhoods where the hutong alleys instead of streets, with walls along the alleys and gates that lead into the courtyards. I read that these walled neighborhoods were designed to be easily defended in times of war, so naturally I had to check them out. One day, I took a walking tour of Tiananmen Square, and Lao Zhu told me that I could pick up a lot of fairly recent Chinese history by visiting all the spots there. And then he added that I got bored there was a Kentucky Fried Chicken at the south end of the square. The square is mega huge. It's almost 48 acres, with trees lining it on the north and south sides. I wandered through the Museum of the Revolution and the Museum of Natural History. Then I walked across the sun-baked square, past the tourists and the kite flyers and families and popsicle saleswomen and professional photographers, past the tall square pillar of the monument to the people's heroes with the gold writing on it, to the west side where the great hall of people is. The PLA soldiers stationed at the doors and their wrinkled green uniforms and green running shoes and old bolt action rifles didn't look intimidating to me. I strolled past the Hall Mao Zedong Memorial Hall and the two tall blockhouses that were once in the part of the city wall. They're called gates in Chinese. Then I crossed the Qingbanlu Front Gate Street, which is even busier than Chang'an Avenue, to the chicken place. It was too crowded. Lately, when I get back to the hotel, the first thing Eddie and Dad ask is, "Get any good footage?" After dinner, I hook up the camcorder to the TV and show them what I have. Once they like some footage of traffic flowing from the drum tower in the pouring rain so much that Dad transferred it to Super VHS tape to use it as a lead-in to one of Eddie's reports. He sent it back to Toronto. We don't know yet whether it got on the news, but Dad paid me anyway. The newsman ought to be paid for his work, he said. I felt pretty good about that.